Morning by Charles Stuart Calverley, read for LibriVox.org. 'Tis the hour when white-horsed Day chases Night her mares away, when the gates of dawn, they say, Phoebus opes, and I gather that the Queen may be uniformly seen, should the weather be serene, on the slopes. When the ploughman, as he goes, leathern gaitered o'er the snows, from his hat and from his nose knocks the ice, and the panes are frosted o'er, and the lawn is crisp and hoar, and has been observed before, once or twice. When arrayed in breastplate red, sings the robin for his bread, on the elm tree that hath shed every leaf. While within, the frost benumbs the still sleepy schoolboy's thumbs, and in consequence his sums come to grief. But when breakfast time hath come, and he's crunching crust and crumb, he'll no longer look a glum little dunce, but be brisk as bees that settle on a summer rose's petal, wherefore, Polly, put the kettle on at once. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Evening by Charles Stuart Calverley, read for LibriVox.org by Thomas Peter. Kate, if e'er thy light foot lingers on the lawn, when up the fells steals the dark, and fairy fingers close unseen the pimpernels, when his thighs with sweetness laden from the meadow comes the bee, and the lover and the maiden stand beneath the trysting tree, lingers on, till stars unnumbered tremble in the breeze-swept tarn, and the bat that all day slumbered flits about the lonely barn, and the shapes that shrink from garish noon are peopling cairn and lea, and thy sire is almost bearish if kept waiting for his tea, and the screech-owl scares the peasant as he skirts some churchyard drear, and the goblins whisper pleasant tales in Miss Rossetti's ear, importuning her in strangest, sweetest tones to buy their fruits. Oh, be careful that thou changest, on returning home, thy boots. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Shelter by Charles Stuart Calverley, read for LibriVox.org by Iswa in Belgium in July 2016. By the wide lake's margin I marked her lie, the wide weird lake where the alders sigh, a young fair thing with a shy soft eye, and I deemed that her thoughts had flown to her home and her brethren and sisters dear, as she lay there watching the dark deep mere, all motionless, all alone. Then I heard a noise as of men and boys, and a boisterous troop drew nigh. Whither now will retreat those fairy feet? Where hide till the storm pass by? One glance, the wild glance of a hunted thing, she cast behind her. She gave one spring, and there followed a splash and a broadening ring on the lake where the alders sigh. She had gone from the ken of ungentle men. Yet scarce did I mourn for that, for I knew she was safe in her own home then, and, the danger past, would appear again, for she was a water-rat. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
In the Gloaming by Charles Stuart Calverley, read for LibriVox.org by Thomas Peter. In the gloaming to be roaming where the crested waves are foaming, and the shy mermaidens combing locks that ripple to their feet. When the gloaming is, I never made the ghost of an endeavour to discover, but whatever were the hour, it would be sweet. To their feet, I say, for Leech's sketch indisputably teaches that the mermaids of our beaches do not end in ugly tales, nor have homes among the corals, but are shod with neat balmorals, an arrangement no one quarrels with, as many might with scales. Sweet to roam beneath a shady cliff, of course with some young lady, Lelage, Nera, Haidee, or Elaine, or Marianne. Love, you dear delusive dream, you, very sweet your victims deem you, when, heard only by the sea-mew, they talk all the stuff one can. Sweet to haste, a licensed lover, to Miss Pinkerton the Glover, having managed to discover what is dear nearest, sighs, perhaps to touch that wrist so slender, as your tiny gift you tender, and to read you're no offender in those laughing hazel eyes. Then to hear her call you Harry, when she makes you fetch and carry. Oh, young men about to marry, what a blessed thing it is! To be photographed, together, cased in pretty Russia leather, hear her gravely doubting whether they have spoiled your honest phiz. Then to bring your plighted fair one first a ring, a rich and rare one, next a bracelet, if she'll wear one, and a heap of things beside, and serenely bending o'er her, to inquire if it would bore her to say when her own adorer may aspire to call her bride. Then the days of courtship over, with your wife, to start for Dover or Dieppe, and live in clover evermore, whatever befalls, for I've read in many a novel that, unless they've souls that grovel, folks prefer in fact to hovel to your dreary marble halls, to sit, happy married lovers, Phyllis trifling with a plover's egg, while Corydon uncovers with a grace the Sally Lunn, or dissects the lucky pheasant. That I think were passing pleasant, as I sit alone at present, dreaming darkly of a dun. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Palace by Charles Stuart Calverley. Read for LibriVox.org by Thomas Peter. They come, with fife and drum, and gleaming pikes and glancing banners. Though the eyes flash, the lips are dumb, to talk in rank would not be manners. Onward they stride, as Britons can, the ladies following in the van. Who be these that tramp in threes through sumptuous Piccadilly, through the roaring Strand, and stand at ease, at last, 'neath shadowy Waterloo? Some gallant guild, I ween, are they, taking their annual holiday. To catch the destined train, to pay their willing fares and plunge within it, is, as in old Romaunt they say, with them the work of half a minute. Then off they're whirled, with songs and shouting, to cedared Sydenham for their outing. I marked them light, with faces bright as pansies or a new-coined florin, and up the sunless stair take flight, close-packed as rabbits in a warren. Honour the brave, who in that stress still trod not upon beauty's dress. Kerchief in hand I saw them stand, in every kerchief lurked a lunch. When they unfurled them, it was grand to watch bronzed men and maidens crunch the sounding celery stick, or ram the knife into the blushing ham. Dash the bold fork through pies of pork, o'er hard-boiled eggs a salt spoon shook. Leapt from its lair the playful cork. Yet some there were to whom the brook seemed sweetest beverage, and for meat they chose the red root of the beet. Then many a song, some rather long, came quivering up from girlish throats, and one young man he came out strong, and gave the wolf without his notes, while they who knew not song or ballad still munched, approvingly, their salad. But ah, what bard could sing how hard the artless banquet o'er, they ran down the soft slope with daisies starred and kingcups. Onward, maid with man, they flew, to scale the breezy swing, or court frank kisses in the ring. Such are the sylvan scenes that thrill this heart, the lawns, the happy shade, where matrons, whom the sunbeams grill, stir with slow spoon their lemonade, and maidens flirt, no extra charge, in comfort at the fountain's marge. Others may praise the grand displays, where fiery arch, cascade, and comet set the whole garden in a blaze. Far, at such times, may I be from it, though then the public may be lost in wonder at a trifling cost. Fanned by the breeze, to puff at ease, my faithful pipe is all I crave, and if folks rave about the trees lit up by fireworks, let them rave. Your monster fates, I like not these, though they bring grist to the lessees. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Peace by Charles Stuart Calverley. Read for LibriVox.org by Gabi. Peace, a study. He stood, a worn-out city clerk, who toiled and seen no holiday, for 40 years from dawn to dark, alone beside Carmarthen Bay. He felt the salt spray on his lips, heard children's voices on the sands. Up the sun's path he saw the ships sail on and on to other lands, and laughed aloud. Each sight and sound to him was joy too deep for tears. He sat him on the beach and bound a blue bandana round his ears, and thought how, posted near his door, his own green door on Camden Hill, 2 bands at least, most likely more, were mingling at their own sweet will. Verdi with the bands, and at the thought he laughed again, and softly drew that Morning Herald that he'd bought forth from his breast, and read it through. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Arab by Charles Stuart Calverley. Read for LibriVox.org by Anusha Ayyar. On, my brown Arab, away, away! Thou hast trotted o'er many a mile to-day, and I trow right meagre hath been thy fare, since they roused thee at dawn from thy straw-piled lair, to tread with those echoless unshod feet yon weltering flats in the noontide heat, where no palm tree proffers a kindly shade, and the eye never rests on a cool grass blade. And lank is thy flank, and thy frequent cough, oh! it goes to my heart, but away, friend, off! And yet, ah! what sculptor who saw thee stand, as thou standest now, on thy native strand, with the wild wind ruffling thine uncombed hair, and thy nostril upturned to the odorous air, would not woo thee to pause till his skill might trace at leisure the lines of that eager face, the collarless neck and the coal-black paws, and the bit grasped tight in the massive jaws, the delicate curve of the legs that seem too slight for their burden, and oh, the gleam of that eye, so sombre and yet so gay. Still away, my lithe Arab, once more away. Nay, tempt me not, Arab, again to stay, since I crave neither echo nor fun to-day. For thy hand is not echoless, there they are, fun, glowworm, and echo, and evening star. And thou hintest withal that thou fain wouldest shine, as I con them, these bulgy old boots of mine. But I shrink from thee, Arab, thou eatest eel pie, thou evermore hast at least one black eye, there is brass on thy brow, and thy swarthy hues are due not to nature, but handling shoes, and the hit in thy mouth I regret to see is a bit of tobacco pipe. Flee, child, flee! End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Lines on Hearing the Organ by Charles Stuart Calverley. Read for LibriVox.org by Noel Badrian. Grinder, who serenely grindest at my door the 100th psalm, till thou ultimately findest pensed in thy unwashed palm. Grinder, jocund-hearted grinder, near whom Barbary's nimble son, poised with skill upon his hinder paws, accepts the proffered bun. Dearly do I love thy grinding, joy to meet thee on thy road, where thou prowlest through the blinding dust with that stupendous load. 'Neath the baleful star of Sirius, when the postman slowly a jog, and the ox becomes delirious, and the muzzle decks the dog. Tell me by what art thou bindest on thy feet those ancient shoon. Tell me, grinder, if thou grindest always, always out of tune. Tell me if, as thou art buckling on thy straps with eager claws, thou forecastest, inly chuckling, all the rage that thou wilt cause. Tell me if at all thou mindest when folks flee as if on wings from thee, as at ease thou grindest. Tell me 50,000 things. Grinder, gentle-hearted grinder, ruffians who led evil lives, soothed by thy sweet strains, are kinder to their bullocks and their wives. Children, when they see thy supple form approach, are out like shots. Half a bar sets several couples waltzing in convenient spots. Not with clumsy Jacks or Georges, unprofaned by grasp of man, maidens speed those simple orgies, Betsy Jane with Betsy Ann. As they love thee in St. Giles's, thou art loved in Grosvenor Square. None of those engaging smiles is unreciprocated there. Often, ere yet thou hast hammered through thy 4 delicious airs, coins are flung thee by enamoured housemaids upon area stairs. E'en the ambrosial whiskered flunkey eyes thy boots and thine unkempt beard and melancholy monkey more in pity than contempt. Far from England, in the sunny south, where Anio leaps in foam, thou wast reared, till lack of money drew thee from thy vine-clad home. And thy mate, the sinewy Jocko, from Brazil or Afric came, land of Simoom and Sirocco, and he seems extremely tame. There he quaffed the undefiled spring, or hung with ape-like glee by his teeth or tail or eyelid to the slippery mango tree. There he wooed and won a dusky bride of instincts like his own, talked of love till he was husky in a tongue to us unknown. Side by side 'twas theirs to ravage the potato ground, or cut down the unsuspecting savage with the well-aimed cocoa-nut, till the miscreant stranger tore him screaming from his blue-faced fair, and they flung strange raiment o'er him, raiment which he could not bear. Severed from the pure embraces of his children and his spouse, he must ride fantastic races, mounted on reluctant sows. But the heart of wistful Jocko still was with his ancient flame, in the nut groves of Morocco, or if not, it's all the same. Grinder, winsome, grinsome grinder, they who see thee and whose soul melts not at thy charms are blinder than a trebly bandaged mole. They to whom thy curt, yet clever, talk, thy music and thine ape, seem not to be joys for ever, are but brutes in human shape. 'Tis not that thy mien is stately, 'tis not that thy tones are soft, 'tis not that I care so greatly for the same thing played so oft. But I've heard mankind abuse thee, and perhaps it's rather strange, but I thought that I would choose thee for encomium as a change. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Changed by Charles Stuart Calverley, read for LibriVox.org by Kathleen. I know not why my soul is racked, why I ne'er smile as was my wont. I only know that, as a fact, I don't. I used to roam o'er glen and glade, buoyant and blithe as other folk, and not unfrequently I made a joke. A minstrel's fire within me burned, I'd sing, as one whose heart must break, lay upon lay. I nearly learned to shake, All day I sang, of love, of fame, of fights our fathers fought of yore, until the thing almost became a bore. I cannot sing the old songs now. It is not that I deem them low, 'tis that I can't remember how they go. I could not range the hills till high above me stood the summer moon, and as to dancing, I could fly as soon. The sports, to which with boyish glee I sprang erewhile, attract no more, although I am but 63 or 4. Nay, worse than that, I've seemed of late to shrink from happy boyhood. Boys have grown so noisy, and I hate a noise. They fright me, when the beach is green, by swarming up its stem for eggs. They drive their horrid hoops between my legs. It's idle to repine, I know. I'll tell you what I'll do instead. I'll drink my arrowroot and go to bed. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
First Love by Charles Stuart Calverley. Read for LibriVox.org by Thomas Peter. O my earliest love, who, ere I numbered 10 sweet summers, made my bosom thrill, will a swallow, or a swift, or some bird, fly to her and say, I love her still? Say my life's a desert drear and arid, to its one green spot I recur. Never, never, although 3 times married, have I cared a jot for aught but her. No, mine own, though early forced to leave you, still my heart was there where first we met, in those lodgings with an ample sea view, which were, 40 years ago, to let. There I saw her first, our landlord's oldest little daughter. On a thing so fair thou, O sun, who, so they say, beholdest everything, hast gazed, I tell thee, ne'er. There she sat, so near me, yet remoter than a star, a blue-eyed, bashful imp. On her lap she held a happy bloater, 'twixt her lips the yet more happy shrimp. And I loved her, and our troth we plighted on the morrow by the shingly shore, in a fortnight to be disunited by a bitter fate for evermore. O my own, my beautiful, my blue-eyed, to be young once more, and bite my thumb at the world and all its cares with you, I'd give no inconsiderable sum. Hand in hand we tramped the golden seaweed, soon as o'er the grey cliff peeped the dawn. Side by side, when came the hour for tea, we'd crunch the mottled shrimp and hairy prawn. Has she wedded some gigantic shrimper, that sweet mite with whom I love to play? Is she girt with babes that whine and whimper, that bright being who is always gay? Yes, she has at least a dozen wee things. Yes, I see her darning corduroys, scouring floors, and setting out the tea-things for a howling herd of hungry boys, in a home that reeks of tar and sperm oil. But at intervals she thinks, I know, of those days which we, afar from turmoil, spent together 40 years ago. O my earliest love, still unforgotten, with your downcast eyes of dreamy blue, never, somehow, could I seem to cotton to another as I did to you. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Wanderer by Charles Stuart Calverley. Read for LibriVox.org by Kathleen. As o'er the hill we roamed at will, my dog and I together, we marked a chase. By 2 bright bays slow moved along the heather, 2 bays arch-necked, with tails erect and gold upon their blinkers, and by their side an ass I spied. It was a travelling tinker's. The chase went by, nor aught cared I. Such things are not in my way. I turned me to the tinker, who was loafing down a byway. I asked him where he lived. A stare was all I got in answer. As on he trudged, I rightly judged. The stare said, "Where I can, sir." I asked him if he'd take a whiff of 'bacco. He acceded, he grew communicative, too. A pipe was all he needed, till of the tinker's life, I think, I knew as much as he did. I loiter down by thorpe and town, for any job I'm willing, take here and there a dusty brown, and here and there a shilling. I deal in everywhere in turn. I've rings for Buddin' Sally that sparkle like those eyes of her'n. I've liquor for the valet. I steal from the parson's strawberry plots. I hide by the squire's covers. I teach the sweet young housemaids what's the art of trapping lovers. The things I've done 'neath moon and stars have got me into messes. I've seen the sky through prison bars. I've torn up prison dresses. I've sat, I've sighed, I've gloomed, I've glanced with envy at the swallows that through the window slid, and danced, quite happy, round the gallows. But out again I come, and show my face, nor care a stiver, for trades are brisk and trades are slow. But mine goes on for ever. Thus on he prattled like a babbling brook. Then the sun hath slipped behind the hill, and my Aunt Vivian dines at 6:30. So in all love we parted, I to the hall, they to the village. It was noised next noon that chickens had been missed at Syllabub Farm. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Sad Memories by Charles Stuart Calverley. Read for LibriVox.org by Kathleen. They tell me I am beautiful, they praise my silken hair, my little feet that silently slip on from stair to stair. They praise my pretty trustful face and innocent grey eye. Fond hands caress me oftentimes, yet would that I might die. Why was I born to be abhorred of man and bird and beast? The bullfinch marks me stealing by, and straight his song hath ceased. The shrew mouse eyes me shudderingly, then flees, and worse than that. The house dog he flees after me. Why was I born a cat? Men prize the heartless hound who quits dry-eyed his native land, who wags a mercenary tail and licks a tyrant hand. The leal true cat they praise not, that if e'er compelled to roam still flies, when let out of the bag, precipitately home. They call me cruel. Do I know if mouse or songbird feels? I only know they make me light and salutary meals. And if, as 'tis my nature too, ere I devour I tease 'em, why should a low-bred gardener's boy pursue me with a besom? Should china fall or chandeliers, or anything but stocks, nay stocks when they're in flower pots, the cat expects hard knocks. Should ever anything be missed, milk, coals, umbrellas, brandy, the cat's pitched into with a boot or anything that's handy. I remember, how one night I fleeted by, and gained the blessed tiles and gazed into the cold clear sky. I remember, how my little lovers came, and there beneath the crescent moon played many a little game. They fought, my good Saint Catherine, 'twas a fearsome sight to see the coal black crest, the glowering orbs of one gigantic he, like bow by some tall bowman bent at Hastings or Poitiers. His huge back curved, till none observed a vestige of his ears. He stood an ebon crest, flouting that ivory moon, then raised the pibroch of his race, the song without a tune. Gleamed his white teeth, his mammoth tail waved darkly to and fro, as with one complex yell he burst, all claws, upon the foe. It thrills me now, that final meow, that weird unearthly din. Lone maidens heard it far away, and leaped out of their skin. A pot-boy from his den o'erhead peeped with a scared wan face, then sent a random brickbat down, which knocked me into space. 9 days I fell, or thereabouts, and, had we not 9 lives, I wis I ne'er had seen again thy sausage shop, St. Ives. Had I, as some cats have, 9 tails, how gladly I would lick the hand and person generally of him who heaved that brick. For me they fill the milk bowl up, and cull the choice sardine. But I never more shall be the cat I once have been. The memories of that fatal night, they haunt me even now. In dreams I see that rampant he, and tremble at the meow. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Companions, A Tale of a Grandfather, by the author of Dewy Memories, etc., by Charles Stuart Calverley. Read for LibriVox.org by Kathleen. I know not of what we pondered, or made pretty pretence to talk, as her hand within mine we wandered toward the pool by the lime-tree walk, while the dew fell in showers from the passion flowers, and the blush rose bent on her stalk. I cannot recall her figure. Was it regal as Juno's own, or only a trifle bigger than the elves who surround the throne of the fairy queen, and are seen, I ween, by mortals in dreams alone? What her eyes were like, I know not. Perhaps they were blurred with tears, and perhaps in your skies there glow not, on the contrary, clearer spheres. No. As to her eyes I am just as wise as you or the cat, my dears. Her teeth, I presume, were pearly, but which was she, brunette or blonde? Her hair, was it quaintly curly, or as straight as a beetle's wand? That I failed to remark. It was rather dark, and shadowy round the pond. Then the hand that reposed so snugly in mine, was it plump or spare? Was the countenance fair or ugly? Nay, children, you have me there. My eyes were p'raps blurred, and besides I'd heard that it's horribly rude to stare. And was I brusque and surly, or oppressively bland and fond? Was I partial to rising early, or why did we twain abscond, all breakfastless too, from the public view to prowl by a misty pond? What passed? What was felt or spoken? Whether anything passed at all, and whether the heart was broken that beat under the sheltering shawl, if shawl she had on, which I doubt, has gone, yes, gone from me past recall. Was I haply the lady's suitor, or her uncle? I can't make out. Ask your governess, dears, or tutor. For myself, I am in hopeless doubt as to why we were there, who on earth we were, and what this is all about. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Ballad by Charles Stuart Calverley. Read for LibriVox.org by Gaby. Ballad. The old wife sat at her ivied door, butter and eggs and a pound of cheese, a thing she had frequently done before, and her spectacles lay on her aproned knees. The piper he piped on the hilltop high, butter and eggs and a pound of cheese, till the cow said, "I die," and the goose asked, "Why?" and the dog said nothing, but searched for fleas. The farmer he strode through the square farmyard, butter and eggs and a pound of cheese. His last brew of ale was a trifle hard, the connection of which with the plot one sees. The farmer's daughter hath frank blue eyes, butter and eggs and a pound of cheese. She hears the rooks caw in the windy skies, as she sits at her lattice and shells her peas. The farmer's daughter hath ripe red lips, butter and eggs and a pound of cheese. If you try to approach her, away she skips, over tables and chairs with apparent ease. The farmer's daughter hath soft brown hair, butter and eggs and a pound of cheese, and I met with a ballad, I can't say where, which wholly consisted of lines like these. Part 2. She sat with her hands 'neath her dimpled cheeks, butter and eggs and a pound of cheese, and spake not a word, while a lady speaks. There is hope, but she didn't even sneeze. She sat with her hands 'neath her crimson cheeks, butter and eggs and a pound of cheese. She gave up mending her father's breeks, and let the cat roll in her new chemise. She sat with her hands 'neath her burning cheeks, butter and eggs and a pound of cheese, and gazed at the piper for 13 weeks. Then she followed him out o'er the misty leas. Her sheep followed her as their tails did them, butter and eggs and a pound of cheese, and this song is considered a perfect gem, and as to the meaning, it's what you please. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Precious Stones by Charles Stuart Calverley, read for LibriVox.org by Iswa in Belgium in July 2016. An incident in modern history. My cherry stones! I prize them, no tongue can tell how much. Each lady caller eyes them, and madly longs to touch. At eve I lift them down, I look upon them, and I cry, recalling how my prince partook, sweet word, of cherry pie. To me it was an era in life, that déjeuner. They ate, they sipped Madeira, much in the usual way. Many a soft item there would be, no doubt, upon the cart, but one made life a heaven to me. It was the cherry tart. Lightly the spoonfuls entered that mouth on which the gaze of 10 fair girls was centered in rapturous amaze. Soon that august assemblage cleared the dish, and as they ate, the stones all coyly reappeared on each illustrious plate. And when His Royal Highness withdrew to take the air, waving our natural shyness, we swooped upon his chair. Policemen at our garments clutched, we mocked those feeble powers, and soon the treasures that had touched exalted lips were ours. One large one, at the moment it seemed almost divine, was got by that Miss Beaumont. And 3, oh 3 are mine! Yes, the 3 stones that rest beneath glass on that plain dear shelf, stranger, once dallied with the teeth of royalty itself. Let Parliament abolish churches and states and thrones. With reverent hands I'll polish still my cherry stones. A clod, a piece of orange peel, an end of a cigar, once trod on by a princely heel, how beautiful they are! Years since I climbed St. Michael's his mount. You'll all go there, of course, and those who like'll sit in St. Michael's chair. For there I saw within a frame the pen. Oh heavens, the pen, with which a duke had signed his name and other gentlemen. Great among geese, I faltered, is she who grew that quill. And deathless bird, unaltered is my opinion still. Yet sometimes, as I view my 3 stones with a thoughtful brow, I think there possibly might be e'en greater geese than thou. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Disaster by Charles Stuart Calverley, read for LibriVox.org. 'Twas ever thus from childhood's hour, my fondest hopes would not decay. I never loved a tree or flower, which was the first to fade away. The garden where I used to delve, short frock still yields me pink in plenty. The pear tree that I climbed at 12, I see still blossoming at 20. I never nursed a dear gazelle, but I was given a paroquet. How I did nurse him if unwell! He's imbecile, but lingers yet. He's green with an enchanting tuft. He melts me with his small black eye. He'd look inimitable, stuffed, and knows it, but he will not die. I had a kitten. I was rich in pets, but all too soon my kitten became a full-sized cat, by which I've more than once been scratched and bitten. And when for sleep her limbs she curled, one day beside her untouched plateful, and glided calmly from the world, I freely own that I was grateful. And then I bought a dog, a queen, a tiny dear departing pug. She lives, but she is past 16, and scarce can crawl across the rug. I loved her beautiful and kind, delighted in her pert bow-wow, but now she snaps, if you don't mind. 'Twere lunacy to love her now. I used to think, should e'er mishap betide my crumpled visage tie, in shape of prowling thief or trap, or coarse bull terrier, I should die. But disasters have their use, and life might even be too sunshiny. Nor would I make myself a goose, if some big dog should swallow Tiny. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Contentment by Charles Stuart Calverley. Read for LibriVox.org by Nathan. Friend, there be they on whom mishap, or never or so rarely comes, that when they think thereof they snap derisive thumbs. And there be they who lately lose their all, yet feel no aching void. Should aught annoy them, they refuse to be annoyed. And fain would I be, and as these. Life is with such all beer and skittles. They are not difficult to please about their victuals. The trout, the grouse, the early pea, by such, if there, are freely taken. If not, they munch with equal glee their bitter bacon. And when they wax a little gay, and chaff the public after luncheon, if they're confronted with a stray policeman's truncheon, they gaze thereat with outstretched necks, and laughter which no threats can smother, and tell the horror-stricken X that he's another. In snow-time, if they cross a spot where unsuspected boys have slid, they fall not down, though they would not mind if they did. When the spring rosebud which they wear breaks short and tumbles from its stem, no thoughts of being angry e'er dawns upon them, though 'twas Jemima's hand that placed, as well you ween at evening's hour, in the loved buttonhole that chaste and cherished flower. And when they travel, if they find that they have left their pocket compass, or Murray, or thick boots behind, they raise no rumpus, but plod serenely on without, knowing it's better to endure the evil which beyond all doubt you cannot cure. When for that early train they're late, they do not make their woes the text of sermons in the Times, but wait on for the next, and jump inside and only grin should it appear that dry wag, the guard, omitted to put in their carpet-bag. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Schoolmaster, Abroad with His Son, by Charles Stuart Calverley. Read for LibriVox.org by Thomas Peter. Oh, what harper could worthily harp it, mine Edward? This wide-stretching wold, look out, wold, with its wonderful carpet of emerald, purple, and gold. Look well at it, also look sharp, it is getting so cold. The purple is heather, erica, the yellow, gorse, called sometimes whin. Cruel boys on its prickles might spike a green beetle as if on a pin. You may roll in it, if you would like a few holes in your skin. You wouldn't? Then think of how kind you should be to the insects who crave your compassion. And then look behind you at you barley ears. Don't they look brave as they undulate? Undulate, mind you, from unda, a wave. The noise of those sheep bells, how faint it sounds here, on account of our height. And this hillock itself, who could paint it with its changes of shadow and light? Is it not, never Etty say ain't it, a marvellous sight? Then you desolate eerie morasses, the haunts of the snipe and the hern, I shall question the two upper classes on aquatiles when we return. Why, I see on them absolute masses of Felix or fern. How it interests seeing a beginner or tiro, like dear little Ned. Is he listening? As I am a sinner he's asleep. He is wagging his head. Wake up! I'll go home to my dinner, and you to your bed. The boundless ineffable prairie, the splendor of mountain and lake with their hues that seem ever to vary, the mighty pine forests which shake in the wind, and in which the unwary may tread on a snake, and this wold with its heathery garment, are themes undeniably great, but, although there is not any harm in't, it's perhaps little good to dilate on their charms to a dull little varmint of 7 or 8. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Arcadis Ambo by Charles Stuart Calverley. Read for LibriVox.org by Anusha Iyer. Why are ye wandering aye twixt porch and porch, thou and thy fellow, when the pale stars fade at dawn, and when the glowworm lights her torch, O beadle of the Burlington Arcade? Who asketh why the beautiful was made? A wan cloud drifting over the waste of blue, the thistledown that floats above the glade, the lilac blooms of April, fair to view, and not but fair are these, and such I ween are you. Yes, ye are beautiful. The young street boys joy in your beauty. Are ye there to bar their pathway to that paradise of toys, ribbons and rings? Who'll blame ye if ye are? Surely no shrill and clattering crowd should mar the dim aisle's stillness, where in noon's mid-glow trip fair-haired girls to boot-shop or bazaar, where at soft eve serenely to and fro the sweet boy graduates walk, nor deem the pastime slow. And oh, forgive me, beadles, if I paid scant tribute to your worth, when first ye stood before me, robed in broadcloth and brocade, and all the nameless grace of beadlehood. I would not smile at ye, if smile I could now as erewhile, ere I had learned to sigh. Ah no, I know ye beautiful and good, and evermore will pause as I pass by, and gaze, and gazing think, how base a thing am I. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Waiting by Charles Stuart Calverley. Read for LibriVox.org by Kathleen. O come, the mother prayed, and hushed her babe. Let me behold once more thy stately form arrayed, like autumn woods in green and gold. I see thy brethren come and go, thy peers in stature, and in hue thy rivals. Same like monarchs glow with richest purple, some are blue, as skies that tempt the swallow back, or red as, seen o'er wintry seas, the star of storm, or barred with black and yellow, like the April bees. Come they and go, I heed not, yet others hail their advent, cling all trustful to their side, and fly safe in their gentle piloting, to happy homes on heath or hill, by park or river. Still I wait and peer into the darkness, still thou comest not. I am desolate. Hush, hark, I see a towering form, from the dim distance slowly rolled. It rocks like lilies in a storm, and oh, its hues are green and gold. It comes, ah, rest is sweet, and there is rest, my babe, for us. She ceased as at her very feet stopped the St. John's Wood omnibus. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Play by Charles Stuart Calverley. Read for LibriVox.org by Iswa in Belgium in July 2016. Play, play while as yet it is day, while the sweet sunlight is warm on the brae. Hark to the lark singing lay upon lay, while the brown squirrel eats nuts on the spray, and in the apple leaves chatters the jay. Play, play even as they. What though the cowslips ye pluck will decay? What though the grass will be presently hay? What though the noise that ye make should dismay old Mrs. Clutterbuck over the way? Play, play, for your locks will grow grey, even the marbles ye sport with are clay. Play, aye, in the crowded highway, was it not made for you? Yea, my lad, yea. True that the babes you were bid to convey home may fall out or be stolen or stray. True that the tip-cat you toss about may strike an old gentleman, cause him to sway, stumble, and perhaps be run over by a dray. Still, why delay? Play, my son, play. Barclay and Perkins, not you, have to pay. Play, play your sonatas in A, heedless of what your next neighbor may say. Dance and be gay as a faun or a fay, sing like the lad in the boat on the bay. Sing, play, if your neighbors inveigh feebly against you, they're lunatics, eh? Bang, twang, clatter and clang, strum, thrum upon fiddle and drum. Nay, pray, simply obey all your sweet impulses, stop not or stay. Rattle the bones, hit a tin-bottom tray hard with a fire shovel, hammer away. Is not your neighbor your natural prey? Should he confound you, it's only in play. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Love by Charles Stuart Calverley, read for LibriVox.org by Iswa in Belgium in July 2016. Canst thou love me, lady? I've not learned to woo. Thou art on the shady side of 62. Still, I love thee dearly. Thou hast lands and pelf, but I love thee merely, merely for thyself. Wilt thou love me, fairest? Though thou art not fair, and I think thou wearest someone else's hair. Thou couldst love me, though, dearly, and, as I am told, thou art very nearly worth thy weight in gold. Dost thou love me, sweet one? Tell me that thou dost. Woman fairly beat one, but I think thou must. Thou art loved so dearly. I am plain, but then thou, to speak sincerely, art as plain again. Love me, bashful fairy. I've an empty purse, and I've moods which vary mostly for the worse. Still, I love thee dearly, though I make, I feel, love a little queerly. I'm as true as steel. Love me, swear to love me, as you know they do, by yon heaven above me and its changeless blue. Love me, lady, dearly, if you'll be so good, though I don't see clearly on what ground you should. Love me, or love me not, but be my bride. Do not simply shove me, so to speak, aside. Perhaps it would be dearly purchased at the price, but 100 yearly would be very nice. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Thoughts at a Railway Station by Charles Stuart Calverley. Read for LibriVox.org by Algie Pug. 'Tis but a box of modest deal, directed to no matter where, yet down my cheek the teardrops steal. Yes, I am blubbering like a seal, for on it is this mute appeal, with care. I am a stern cold man, and range apart, but those vague words, with care, wake yearnings in me sweet as strange, drawn from my moral moated grange. I feel I rather like the change of air. Hast thou ne'er seen rough pointsmen spy some simple English phrase, with care, or this side uppermost, and cry like children? No? No more have I, yet deem not him whose eyes are dry a bear. But ah, what treasure hides beneath that lid so much the worse for wear? A ring perhaps, a rosy wreath, a photograph by Vernon Heath, some matron's temporary teeth or hair. Perhaps some seaman in Peru or Ind hath stowed herein a rare cargo of birds' eggs for his Sue, with many a vow that he'll be true, and many a hint that she is too fair. Perhaps, but wherefore vainly pry into the page that's folded there? I shall be better by and by. The porters, as I sit and sigh, pass and repass. I wonder why they stare. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
On the Brink by Charles Stuart Calverley. Read for LibriVox.org by Anusha Iyer. I watched her as she stooped to pluck a wild flower in her hair to twine, and wished that it had been my luck to call her mine. Anon I heard her rate with mad, mad words her babe within its cot, and felt particularly glad that it had not. I knew, such subtle brains have men, that she was uttering what she shouldn't, and thought that I would chide, and then I thought I wouldn't. Who could have gazed upon that face, those pouting coral lips, and chided? A Rhadamanthus in my place had done as I did. For ire wherewith our bosoms glow is chained thereoft by beauty's spell, and, more than that, I did not know the widow well. So the harsh phrase passed unreproved, still mute. O brothers, was it sin? I drank, unutterably moved, her beauty in. And to myself I murmured low, as on her upturned face and dress the moonlight fell, would she say no, by chance, or yes? She stood so calm, so like a ghost betwixt me and that magic moon, that I already was almost a finished coon. But when she caught adroitly up, and soothed with smiles her little daughter, and gave it, if I'm right, a sup of barley water, and, crooning still the strange sweet lore which only mothers' tongues can utter, snowed with deft hand the sugar over its bread and butter, and kissed it clingingly. Ah, why don't women do these things in private? I felt that if I lost her, I should not survive it. And from my mouth the words nigh flew, the past, the future, I forgot 'em. Oh, if you'd kiss me as you do that thankless atom! But this thought came ere yet I spake, and froze the sentence on my lips. They, who marry wives that make those little slips. It came like some familiar rhyme, some copy to my boyhood's set, and that's perhaps the reason I am unmarried yet. Would she have owned how pleased she was, and told her love with widow's pride? I never found out that, because I never tried. Be kind to babes and beasts and birds. Hearts may be hard, though lips are coral, and angry words are angry words, and that's the moral. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Forever by Charles Stuart Calverley. Read for LibriVox.org by Gabi. Forever. Forever. 'Tis a single word. Our rude forefathers deemed it too. Can you imagine so absurd a view? Forever! What abysms of woe the word reveals, what frenzy, what despair, forever, printed so, did not. It looks, ah me, how trite and tame, it fails to sadden or appall, or solace, it is not the same at all. O thou to whom it first occurred to solder the disjoint and dower thy native language with a word of power. We bless thee, whether far or near, thy dwelling, whether dark or fair, thy kingly brow is neither here nor there. But in men's hearts shall be thy throne, while the great pulse of England beats, thou coiner of a word unknown to Keats. And nevermore must printer do as men did long ago, but run for into ever bidding two be one. Forever passion fraught it throws o'er the dim page a gloom, a glamour. It's sweet, it's strange, and I suppose it's grammar. Forever 'tis a single word, and yet our fathers deemed it two. Nor am I confident they erred. Are you? End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Under the Trees by Charles Stuart Calverley. Read for LibriVox.org by Anusha Iyer. Under the trees, who but agrees that there is magic in words such as these? Promptly one sees shake in the breeze stately lime avenues haunted of bees, where, looking far over buttercupped leas, lads and fair she's, that is Byron, and he's an authority, lie very much at their ease, taking their teas or their duck and green peas, or if they prefer it, their plain bread and cheese, not objecting at all, though it's rather a squeeze, and the glass is, I dare say, at 80 degrees. Some get up glees, and are mad about trees, and Sainton and Tamberlick's thrilling high seas, or if painters hold forth about Hunt and Maclise, and the tone and the breadth of that landscape of Lees, or if learned are Nodes and the moon's apogees, or, if serious, on something of AKHBs, or the latest attempt to convert the Chaldees, or in short about all things from earthquakes to fleas. Some sit in twos or less frequently threes, with their innocent lamb's-wool or book on their knees, and talk and enact any nonsense you please, as they gaze into eyes that are blue as the seas, and you hear an occasional "Harry, don't tease!" from the sweetest of lips in the softest of keys, and other remarks which to me are Chinese, and fast the time flees, till a lady-like sneeze, or a portly papa's more elaborate wheeze, makes Miss Tabitha seize on her brown muffetees, and announce as a fact that it's going to freeze, and that young people ought to attend to their P's and their Q's, and not court every form of disease. Then Tommy eats up the 3 last ratafies, and pretty Louise wraps her robe de cerise round a bosom as tender as widow Macrie's, and, in spite of the pleas of her lorn vis-a-vis, goes to wrap up her uncle, a patient of skis, who is prone to catch chills like all old Bengalis. But at bedtime I trust he'll remember to grease the bridge of his nose and preserve his rupees from the premature clutch of his fond legatees, or at least have no fees to pay any MDs, for the cold his niece caught sitting under the trees. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Motherhood
by Charles Stuart Calverley. Read for LibriVox.org by Anusha Iyer. She laid it where the sunbeams fall, unscanned upon the broken wall. Without a tear, without a groan, she laid it near a mighty stone, which some rude swain had haply cast thither in sport long ages past, and time with mosses had o'erlaid, and fenced with many a tall grass blade, and all about bid roses bloom, and violets shed their soft perfume. There in its cool and quiet bed she set her burden down and fled. nor flung, all eager to escape, one glance upon the perfect shape that lay, still warm and fresh and fair, but motionless and soundless there. No human had marked her pass across the linden-shadowed grass, ere yet the minster clock chimed 7, only the innocent birds of heaven, the magpie and the rook whose nest swings as the elm tree waves his crest, and the lithe cricket and the haw and huge-limbed hound that guards the door, looked on when, as a summer wind that, passing, leaves no trace behind, all unapparelled, barefoot all, she ran to that old ruined wall, to leave upon the chill dank earth, for she never knew its worth, mid hemlock rank and fern and ling and dews of night, that precious thing. And there it might have lain forlorn from morn till eve, from eve to morn, but that, by some wild impulse led, the mother, ere she turned and fled, one moment stood erect and high, then poured into the silent sky a cry so jubilant, so strange, that Alice, as she strove to range her rebel ringlets at her glass, sprang up and gazed across the grass, shook back those curls so fair to see, clapped her soft hands in childish glee, and shrieked, her sweet face all aglow, her very limbs with rapture shaking, "My hen has laid an egg, I know, and only hear the noise she's making." End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Mystery by Charles Stuart Calverley. Read for LibriVox.org by Gabi. Mystery. I know not if in others' eyes she seemed almost divine, but far beyond a doubt it lies that she did not in mine. Each common stone on which she trod it did not deem a pearl, nay, it is not a little odd how I abhorred that girl. We met at balls and picnics oft, or on a drawing-room stair. My aunt invariably coughed to warn me she was there. At croquet I was bid remark how queenly was her pose, as with stern glee she drew the dark blue ball beneath her toes, and made the red fly many a foot. Then calmly she would stoop, smiling an angel's smile, to put a partner through his hoop. At archery I was made observe that others aimed more near, but none so tenderly could curve the elbow round the ear. Or if we rode, perhaps she did pull sharply at the curb, but then the way in which she slid from horseback was superb. She'd throw off odes, again, whose flow and fire were more than Sapphic. Her voice was sweet and very low, her singing quite seraphic. She was a seraph, lacking wings, that much I freely own, but it is one of those queer things whose cause is all unknown. Such are the wasp, the household fly, the shapes that crawl and curl, by men called centipedes, that I simply abhorred that girl. No doubt some mystery underlies all things which are and which are not, and 'tis the function of the wise not to expound to us what is what, but let his consciousness play round the matter and at ease evolve the problem, shallow or profound, which our poor wits have failed to solve. Then tell us blandly we are fools, whereof we were aware before, that truth they taught us at the schools, and p'raps, who knows, a little more. But why did we two disagree? our tastes, it may be, did not dovetail. All I know is, we never shall be hero and heroine of a love tale. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Flight by Charles Stuart Calverley, read for LibriVox.org by Thomas Peter. O memory, that which I gave thee to guard in thy garner yestreen, little deeming thou e'er couldst behave thee thus basely, hath gone from thee clean. Gone, fled, as ere autumn is ended, the yellow leaves flee from the oak. I have lost it for ever, my splendid original joke. What was it? I know I was brushing my hair when the notion occurred. I know that I have felt myself blushing as I thought, how supremely absurd! How they'll hammer on floor and on table as its drollery dawns on them, how they will quote it. I wish I were able to quote it just now. I had thought to lead up conversation to the subject. It's easily done, then let off, as an airy creation of the moment, that masterly pun. Let it off, with a flash like a rocket's, in the midst of a dazzled conclave, where I sat, with my hands in my pockets, the only one grave. I had fancied young Titterton's chuckles, and old Bottleby's hearty guffaws, as he drove at my ribs with his knuckles, his mode of expressing applause, while Jean Bottleby, queenly Miss Janet, drew her handkerchief hastily out, in fits at my slyness. What can it have all been about? I know 'twas the happiest, quaintest combination of pathos and fun, but I've got no idea, the faintest, of what was the actual pun. I think it was somehow connected with something I'd recently read, or heard, or perhaps recollected on going to bed. What had I been reading? The Standard, Double Bigamy, Speech of the Mayor, and later. Yes, I meandered through some chapters of Vanity Fair. How it fuses the grave with the festive! Yet e'en there is nothing so fine, so playfully, subtly suggestive as that joke of mine. Did it hinge upon parting asunder? No, I don't part my hair with my brush. Was the point of it hair? Now I wonder. Stop a bit. I shall think of it. Hush. There's hare, a wild animal. Stuff. It was something a deal more recondite. Of that I am certain enough, and of nothing beyond it. Hair. Locks. There are probably many good things to be said about those. Give me time. That's the best guess of any. Lock has several meanings, one knows. Iron locks, iron grey locks, a deadlock. That would set up an everyday wit. Then of course there's the obvious wedlock. But that wasn't it. No, mine was a joke for the ages, full of intricate meaning and pith, a feast for your scholars and sages. How it would have rejoiced Sidney Smith! 'Tis such thoughts that ennoble a mortal, and, singing him out from the herd, fling wide immortality's portal. But what was the word? Ah me, 'tis a bootless endeavour. As the flight of a bird of the air is the flight of a joke, you will never see the same one again, you may swear. 'Twas my firstborn, and oh how I prized it! My darling, my treasure, my own. This brain and none other devised it, and now it has flown. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
On the Beach by Charles Stuart Calverley. Read for LibriVox.org by Algie Pug. On the Beach. Lines by a private tutor. When the young Augustus Edward has reluctantly gone bedward, he's the urchin I am privileged to teach. From my left-hand waistcoat pocket I extract a battered locket, and I commune with it, walking on the beach. I had often yearned for something that would love me, e'en a dumb thing. But such happiness seemed always out of reach. Little boys are off like arrows, with their little spades and barrows, when they see me bearing down upon the beach. And although I'm rather handsome, tiny babes, when I would dance 'em on my arm, set up so horrible a screech that I pitch them to their nurses, with, I fear me, muttered curses, and resume my lucubrations on the beach. And the rabbits won't come nigh me, and the gulls observe and fly me, and I doubt, upon my honour, if a leech would stick on me as on others, and I know if I had brothers, they would cut me when we met upon the beach. So at last I bought this trinket, for, although I love to think it, 'twasn't given me with a pretty little speech. No, I bought it of a pedlar, brown and wizened as a medlar, who was hawking odds and ends about the beach. But I've managed, very nearly, to believe that I was dearly loved by somebody, who, blushing like a peach, flung it o'er me, saying, "Wear it for my sake," and I declare it seldom strikes me that I bought it on the beach. I can see myself revealing unsuspected depths of feeling, as, in tones that half upbraid and half beseech, I aver with what delight I would give anything, my right eye, for a souvenir of our stroll upon the beach. Oh, that eye that never glistened, and that voice to which I've listened but in fancy, how I dote upon them each! How regardless what o'clock it is I pore upon that locket, which does not contain her portrait, on the beach! As if something were inside it, I laboriously hide it, and a rather pretty sermon you might preach upon fantasy, selecting, for your instance, the affecting tale of me and my proceedings on the beach. I depict her, ah, how charming! I portray myself alarming her, by swearing I would mount the deadly breach, or engage in any scrimmage, for a glimpse of her sweet image, or her shadow, or her footprint on the beach. And I'm ever seeing my imaginary being, and I'd rather that my marrow bones should bleach in the winds, than that a cruel fate should snatch from me the jewel which I bought for 1 and 6pence on the beach. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Lovers and a Reflection by Charles Stuart Calverley. Read for LibriVox.org by Anusha Iyer. In moss-pranked dells which the sunbeams flatter, and heaven it knoweth what that may mean, meaning, however, is no great matter, where woods are a-tremble, with rifts atween, through God's own heather we wand together, I and my Willie, O love, my love. I need hardly remark it was glorious weather, and flitterbats wavered alow, above. Boats were curtsying, rising, bowing. Boats in that climate are so polite, and sands were a ribbon of green endowing, and oh the sun-dazzle on bark and bite. Through the rare red heather we danced together, O love, my Willie, and smelt for flowers. I must mention again it was gorgeous weather. Rhymes are so scarce in this world of ours. By rises that flushed with their purple favours, through becks that brattled o'er grasses sheen, we walked and waded, we two young shavers, thanking our stars we were both so green. We journeyed in parallels, I and Willie, in fortunate parallels, butterflies, hid in weltering shadows of daffodilly or marjoram, kept making peacock eyes. Songbirds darted about, some inky as coal, some snowy, I ween, as curds, or rosy as pinks, or as roses pinky. They reck of no eyrie to come, those birds. But they skim over bents which the midstream washes, or hang in the lift neath a white cloud's hem. They need no parasols, no goloshes, and good Mrs. Trimmer she feedeth them. Then we thrid God's cowslips, as erst his heather, that endowed the wan grass with their golden blooms, and snapped. It was perfectly charming weather, our fingers at fate and her goddess glooms. And Willie 'gan sing. Oh, his notes were fluty, wafts fluttered them out to the white-winged sea. Something made up of rhymes that have done much duty, rhymes, better to put it, of ancient tree. Bowers of flowers encountered showers in William's carol. O love, my Willie! Then he bade sorrow borrow from blithe tomorrow, I quite forget what, say a daffodilly. A nest in a hollow, with buds to follow, I think occurred next in his nimble strain, and clay that was needed of course in Eden, a rhyme most novel I do maintain. Mists, bones, the singer himself, love stories, and all least furlable things got furled, not with any design to conceal their glories, but simply and solely to rhyme with world. Oh, if billows and pillows and hours and flowers and all the brave rhymes of an elder day could be furled together this genial weather, and carted or carried on wafts away, nor ever again trotted out, ah me, how much fewer volumes of verse there'd be! End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Cock and the Bull by Charles Stuart Calverley. Read for LibriVox.org by Algie Pug. The Cock and the Bull. You see this pebble stone? It's a thing I bought out of a bit of a chit of a boy i' the mid of the day. I like to dock the smaller parts of speech, as we curtail the already curtailed cur. You catch the paronomasia, play po words? Did, rather, i' the pre-Lancerian days. Well, to my muttons, I purchased the concern, and clapped it in me poke, having given for same, by way of chop, swap, barter, or exchange (chop was my snickering dandy-prat's own term), 1 shilling and 4pence, current coin of the realm, ONE 1, and FOUR 4 pence, 1 and 4pence. You are with me, sir? What hour it skills not, 10 or 11 of the clock, one day, and what a roaring day it was, go shop or sight-see, bar a spit of rain, in February 1869, Alexandrina Victoria Fidei, how runs the jargon? Being on throne. Such, sir, are all the facts, succinctly put, the basis or substratum, what you will, of the impending 80,000 lines. Not much in 'em either, quoth perhaps simple Hodge. But there's a superstructure. Wait a bit. Mark first the rationale of the thing. Here logic rivel and levigate the deed. That shilling, and, for matter of that, the pence, I had of course upon me, we me say, make 'em's a Latin, make a note of that. When I pop pen i stand, scratched ear, wiped snout, let everybody wipe his own himself, sniffed, it's snuff-box, tumbled up, heed, haw-hawed, not he-hawed, that's another guesping. Then fumbled at and stumbled out o' door. I shoved the timber ope wi' me omoplate, and in vestibulo i' the lobby, to wit, Jacobi Facciolati's rendering, sir, donned galligaskins, anti-gropelos, and so forth, and, complete with hat and gloves, one on and one a dangle in me hand, and ombrifuge, Lord love you, case of rain, I flopped forth, spuddikins, on my own 10 toes, I do assure you there be 10 of them, and went clumping up hill and down dale, to find myself o' a sudden i' front o' the boy. Put case I hadn't 'em on me, could I have bought this sort of kind of what you might call toy, this pebble thing, or the boy thing, Q.E.D. That's proven without aid from mumping Pope, sleek porporate, or bloated cardinal. Isn't it, old fat chaps? You're in Euclid now. So, having the shilling, having in fact the lot, and pence and halfpence, ever so many of 'em, I purchased, as I think I said before, the pebble, lapis, lapidus, dem de. What nouns crease short i genitive, fat chaps? Eh? Oh, the boy, a bare-legged beggarly son of a gun, for 1 and 4pence. Here we are again. Now Law steps in, big-wigged, voluminous-jawed, investigates and re-investigates. Was the transaction illegal? Law shakes head. Perpend, sir, all the bearings of the case. At first the coin was mine, the chattel his, but now, by virtue of the said exchange and barter, vici versa all the coin, per juris operationem, vests i the boy, and his assigns till dinga doom. In seculo seculorum. I think I hear the Abate mouth out that. To have and hold the same to him and them. Confer some idiot on conveyancing. Whereas the pebble, and every part thereof, and all that appertaineth thereunto, quodcumque pertinet ad eam rem, I fancy, sir, my Latin's rather pat, or shall, will, may, might, can, could, would, or should, sub audi caetera, clap we to the close, for what's the good of law in a case of the kind? Is mine to all intents and purposes. This settled, I resume the thread of the tale. Now for a touch of the vendor's quality. He says a gentleman bought a pebble of him. This pebble is sooth, sir, which I hold in me hand, and paid for't, like a gentleman, on the nail. Did I o'ercharge him a halfpenny? Devil a bit. Fiddle-pin's end. Got out, you blazing ass. Gabble of the goose. Don't bugaboo baby me. Go double or quits? Yah, tit up. What's the odds? There's a transaction viewed i' the vendor's light. Next, ask that dumpled hag stood snuffling by, with her free, frowsy, blousy brats of babes, the scum of the kennel, cream of the filth heap. Pfft! Ot-tot-tot-tot-tot-wee. Stead which we blew out hoity-toity now, and the baker and the candlestick maker, and Jack and Jill, bleared goody this, and queasy gaffer that. Ask the schoolmaster. Take schoolmaster first. He saw a gentleman purchase of a lad a stone, and pay for it, recte, on the square, and carry it off, per saltum, jauntily, proprio quo maribus, gentleman's property now, agreeably to the law explained above, improprium usum, for his private ends. The boy he chucked a brown in the air, and bit in the face a shilling, heaved a thumping stone at a lean hen that ran clucking by, and hit her, dead as nail i' post a door. Then albeit, what's the Cicerodian phrase? Excessit, evasit, erupit. Off slogs, boy. Off like bird, avi similis. You observe the dative? Pretty in the Mantuan. Anglicae, off in 3 flea skips. Hactenus so far. So good, tam bene. Bene sais male. Where was I with my trope about 1 in a quag? I did once hitch the syntax into verse. Verbum personale. A verb personal. Concordat. I agrees, old fat chaps, cum nominativo with its nominative. Genere, e point a gender, numero, a number, et persona, and person. Ut, instance, sol ruit, now flop sun, et and Montes Umbranto, outflounce mountains. Pah! Excuse me, sir. I think I'm going mad. You see the trick on't, though, and can yourself continue the discourse ad libitum. It takes up about 80,000 lines, a thing imagination boggles at, and might, odds bobs, sir, in judicious hands, extend from here to Mesopotamia. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
An Examination Paper by Charles Stuart Calverley. Read for LibriVox.org by Noel Badrian. The Posthumous Papers of the Pickwick Club. Cambridge, 1857. 1. Mention any occasion on which it is specified that the fat boy was not asleep, and that 1. Mr. Pickwick and for key see chapters 4, 30, twice 39. 2. Mr. Weller senior ran key chapter 56. Deduce from expressions used on one occasion Mr. Pickwick's maximum of speed. Key see chapters 4, 8, 18 and 54. 2. Translate into coherent English, adding a note wherever a word, a construction, or an allusion requires it. Go on, Jemmy, like black-eyed Susan, all in the Downs. Smart chap that cabman, handled his fives well, but if I'd been your friend in the green Jemmy, punch his head. Pig's whisper, pie-man too. Elucidate the expression the Spanish traveller and the narcotic bedstead. Key 2 of Jingle's speeches are here quoted, the first being in chapter 3 and the second in chapter 2. For Spanish traveller see chapter 3, and for narcotic bedstead see chapter 41. Go on, Jemmy, is Mr. Jingle's adjuration to the actor whom he has previously designated Dismal Jemmy, urging the commencement of The Stroller's Tale. Like Black-eyed Susan, all in the Downs, has the double application to the Stroller's melancholy and the first line of Gay's song of Black-eyed Susan. All in the Downs the fleet was moored. Handled his fives well, of course refers to the sparring of the cabman who wanted to fight Mr. Pickwick. Friend in the green Jemmy refers to Mr. Winkle, who we are told in chapter 1 wore a new green shooting coat, etc. Pig's whisper is slang for a very brief space of time. Bartlett says the Americans have pig's whistle the same signification. 3. Who were Mr. Staple, Goodwin, Mr. Brooks, Villam, Mrs. Bunkin, Old Nobbs, Cast Iron Head, Young Bantam? Key see chapters 7, 18, 19, 22, 34, 37, 36, 44. 4. What operation was performed on Tom Smart's chair? Who little thinks that in which pocket, of what garment, in where, he has left what, entreating him to return to whom, with how many what, and all how big? Key see 2 several parts of the Bagman story in chapter 14. 5. Give approximately the height of Mr. Dudley, and accurately the Christian names of Mr. Grummer, Mrs. Raddle, and the fat boy, also the surname of the Zephyr. Key see chapters 24, 25, 46, 8, and 41. 6. Mr. Weller's knowledge of London was extensive and peculiar. Illustrate this by a reference to the facts. Key see chapter 20. 7. Describe the rebellion which had irritated Mr. Nupkins on the day of Mr. Pickwick's arrest. Key. See chapter 24. 8. Give in full Samuel Weller's first compliment to Mary, and his father's critique upon the same young lady. What church was on the Valentine that first attracted Mr. Samuel's eye in the shop? Key. See chapter 25, 56 and 33. 9. Describe the common profile machine. Key. See chapter 33. 10. State the component parts of dog's nose, and simplify the expression taking a grinder. Key. See chapters 33 and 31. 11. On finding his principal in the pound, Mr. Weller and the town beadle varied directly. Show that the latter was ultimately eliminated, and state the number of rounds in the square which is not described. Key. See the end of chapter 19. 12. Anything for air and exercise. As the weary old donkey observed, when they yoke him up from his deathbed to carry 10 gentlemen to Greenwich in a tax-cart. Illustrate this by stating any remark recorded in the Pickwick papers to have been made by a previously dumb animal, with the circumstances under which he made it. Key. Illustrations will be found severally in chapters 33, 35, and 47. 13. What kind of cigars did Mr. Ben Allen chiefly smoke, and where did he knock and take naps alternately, under the impression that it was his home? Key. See chapters 30 and 32. 14. What was the ordinary occupation of Mr. Sawyer's boy? Whence did Mr. Allen derive the idea that there was a special destiny between Mr. S. and Arabella? Key. See 2 separate passages in chapter 38. 15. Describe Weller's method of gently indicating his presence to the young lady in the garden, and the form of salutation usual among the coachmen of the period. Key. See chapters 39 and 43. 16. State any incidents you know in the career of Tom Martin, butcher, previous to his incarceration. Key. See chapter 42. 17. Give Weller's theories for the extraction of Mr. Pickwick from the Fleet. Where was his wife's will found? Key. See chapter 43, 45, and 55. 18. How did the old lady make a memorandum, and of what, at whist? Show that there were at least 3 times as many fiddles as harps in Muggleton at the time of the ball at Manor Farm. Key. See chapters 6 and 28. 19. What is a red-faced Nixon? Key. See chapter 43. You've been a-prophesying away very fine like a red-faced Nixon, as the sixpenny books give pictures on. The allusion is to Robert Nixon, the Cheshire Prophet. See Notes and Queries, First Series, Volume 8, pages 257 and 326, and Fourth Series, Volume 11, pages 171 and 265. Nixon's prophecies have been frequently published in the form of chapbooks, and were probably current at the time with a highly coloured portrait. 20. Write down the chorus to each verse of Mr. S. Weller's song, and a sketch of the mottle-faced man's excursus on it. Is there any ground for conjecturing that he, Sam, had more brothers than one? Key. The first requisition may be complied with by reference to chapter 43. The following is answered in chapter 10. 21. How many lumps of sugar went into the shepherd's liquor as a rule? And is any exception recorded? Key. See chapters 45 and 52. 22. What seal was on Mr. Winkle's letter to his father? What penitential attitude did he assume before Mr. Pickwick? Key. See chapters 50 and 47. 23. She's a swelling visibly. When did the same phenomenon occur again, and what fluid caused the pressure on the body in the latter case? Key. See chapters 33 and 45. 24. How did Mr. Weller senior define the funds, and what view did he take of reduced consols? In what terms is his elastic force described when he assaulted Mr. Stiggins at the meeting? Write down the name of the meeting. Key. The first two questions are answered in chapter 52 and 55. The next is answered at the end of chapter 33, where also is the information lastly required. 25. Sobatognomon, a good judge of cattle, hence a good judge of character. Note on Aish Ag. Illustrate the theory involved by a remark of the parent Weller. Key. The illustration required is in chapter 55. 26. Give some account of the word fatigue, and hazard any conjecture explanatory of the expression "my Prussian blue," applied by Mr. Samuel to Mr. Tony Weller. Key. See chapters 38 and 33. Fatigue, a worry or bustle, also ill humour. Various dialects. Halliwell. Prussian blue probably refers to the colour of dress coats. Which gentleman of your party wears a bright blue dress coat? Inquires the Boots in Pickwick, chapter 2. Thus Sam Weller's Prussian blue is a finely dressed fellow of the Pickwick-Weller period. 27. In developing to P.M. his views of a proposition, what assumption did Mr. Pickwick feel justified in making? Key. See chapter 24. 28. Deduce from a remark of Mr. Weller, Jr., the price per mile of cabs at the period. Key. See the opening of chapter 22. 29. What do you know of the hotel next the Bull at Rochester? Key. See chapter 2. 30. Who, besides Mr. Pickwick, is recorded to have worn gaiters? Key. See chapter 20. End of section. And end of Flyleaves by Charles Stuart Calverley. This recording is in the public domain.